Okay, hopefully everybody can see me. It is about 6 o'clock, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I want to be respectful of your guys' time this evening. But my name is Kadisa Kahutek, and I am the Assessment Coordinator here at UTSA for the Educator Preparations Program. We also have Dr. Michael Verzanga with us as well, and he is a Director for Assessment and Program Accountability. And this evening, we're going to go through the edTPA orientation, and hopefully you guys can get some more information on it. Throughout the presentation, if you guys have any questions, please go ahead and type them in the chat box, and we'll go ahead and them at the end of the presentation. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to kind of go through the who, what, where, when, how, and why for edTPA. So we're going to start with the who. Okay, so all UTSA clinical and residency students who are pursuing a certification in core subjects EC6, core subjects EC6 with ESL, or bilingual core subjects are going to have to complete edTPA if they have not passed the PPR before August 24th of 2020. So if you want to write that date down, take a picture of this slide. But if you have not, or you will not successfully pass that test by August 24th, you will need to complete edTPA. So what exactly is edTPA? It is a portfolio-based assessment that requires teacher candidates to demonstrate their readiness to teach through lesson plans, recorded videos of instruction, and analysis of student learning through assessment. So the image on your right is going to kind of show the heart of teaching. You have student learning at the center, surrounded by academic language, and those three key parts of planning, instruction, and assessment. So where will I do edTPA? This is going to happen in your classroom, in your clinical teaching classrooms, with your students doing planning these lessons. edTPA, a large portfolio and assessment process. You're going to need to spend some time at home, at the library, with your peers, working on this portfolio, spending time researching, writing, and a lot of reflection on what you're doing. So when will I do edTPA? Like I said, this is a big job. edTPA may come across as being very overwhelming, but if you break it down into small tasks, you're going to be able to accomplish and get through edTPA. And here at UTSA, we're going to be here to support you throughout the way. So we are going to help you come up with a plan, with a schedule to follow to keep you on track, a calendar to help you kind of navigate through edTPA. So here's a sample of an edTPA plan. At the beginning, you have pre-planning. So the first couple weeks of your clinical teaching, you're going to get to know your campus, your mentor teacher. You're going to get to know who your students are. You'll send home some of those video permission slips at that time, and that'll kind of take place by Labor Day or so. And then the next couple weeks will be focused on the planning. Okay, what are you actually going to teach? What do your students need to know? You're going to be looking at those TEKs to figure out and kind of shape your lesson plan. What resources do you need for that particular lesson plan? And hopefully your kind of time frame for that is going to be Columbus Day. The instruction portion, so this is kind of the video recording of yourself teaching. Is this a student-centered lesson? How are you engaging and motivating your students? What kind of questions are you asking them? What materials and supplies do you need for the actual instruction? And this part will hopefully take place around Halloween. And then last but not least, the assessment process. Okay, know that your students got it. What went right with your lesson and what went wrong. The reflection piece is going to be so important and so crucial to help you figure out, what are you going to do next time? What are you going to do differently? And then you may have to reteach. So what does the process look like? And then also during this time period, you're going to be doing a lot of the commentary for edTPA and reflection on it as well. And then hopefully by Thanksgiving, you'll be able to submit that portfolio. So kind of just putting the last minute touches on it and submitting it. And so this is something that you can do and that you can accomplish. The most important part here is for you guys to have a plan. Start early. edTPA is not something that you're going to be able to procrastinate and kind of pull off at the very end. It's going to take planning on your part. And then from this point, I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Verzanga take over from here.
Okay, thank you, Carissa. The next question we'll talk about is, well, how do I complete the edTPA? We are going to be here to help you and to guide you. The fundamental document, the document that you use most often, is the Elementary Education Literacy and Mathematics Handbook. It is very detailed, and it tells you exactly what you need to think about, what you'll need to do, what you'll need to write, and we'll talk about that a little more later. Another resource that will be available to you is one calling Making Good Choices, that talks about some of the edTPA unique aspects of doing this effort. And then the third thing that we'll offer to you is a thing called Understanding Rubric Level Progressions. So you complete a part of the edTPA and your question is, well, did I do a good job with that? And the rubrics can help you understand that, and then understanding what the rubrics really mean will help you a little bit even further. I should pause here for a second and make it clear that it's not going to be just you and the books. It's going to be you and your site supervisor. It's going to be you and your faculty while you're taking classes. It's going to be you and Carissa and I all supporting you to make sure that you're successful. And that's what you want, but it's what we want as well, for you to be able to do this, because we know that you can. The edTPA tasks themselves, there are 4 of them. The first 3 are literacy oriented, so there is planning for literacy, then literacy instruction, and then literacy assessment. And literacy in edTPA speak can mean either, either reading or writing. And then the last part is the mathematics assessment and reteaching. For the first 3 parts, you do virtually all the work. You're going to make the plan, you're going to put it in the context of your school, you're going to do the teaching, and it'll be a lesson, an extended lesson that goes over 3 to 5 days, and you're going to assess the students and see how well they do. For the mathematics assessment, it's something that you'll probably do in conjunction with your mentor teacher. She, for the most part, may do the first part of the teaching of a particular mathematics lesson. You'll do an assessment of how that went, and then based on that assessment, there may be some reteaching that needs to be done, and that's where you would become involved in identifying what the assessment revealed, doing the reteaching and explaining why you did what you did, and then wrapping that up. So these are the 4 key questions that you'll need to ask about every task, and the books do guide you through this, but your faculty and your supervisors will help you with this as well. What do I need to think about? Just starting from the beginning, who are my students? What's my school? What are their needs? What are the TEKs that I'm trying to communicate to them? What do I need to do? So in the first part, you'll be doing your planning. You'll be tailoring it to your students' needs and tailoring to the resources that you have available. What do I need to write? Certainly you're writing the lesson plan, but then you're going to write reflections on those lesson plans to say, this is what I intended to do when I actually did the lesson. This is how it worked out. And if I had an opportunity to do it over again, this is what I would change. And you can hopefully see that circular diagram that we talked about earlier in your head as I go through those. And then obviously the last one is, how will the evidence of my teaching be assessed? And that is the rubric. So what does the rubric say, and how does that look for me? Because you're putting together a portfolio, you're going to gather the artifacts that explain what you've done and help an outsider to understand why you did what you did. So lesson plans, student work, video clips are very important. The assessment instruments you use, whether they're worksheets or an informal assessment in class or something more formal than that, than the feedback that you provided in any form, written form, audio form, video form. And then your commentary is going to be, of course, very critical. What they're looking for is that you are reflective in your practice. And that sets up that fortuitous positive loop of trying, recognizing need for improvement, doing the improvement, trying again. That will make you a better and better teacher over time, not just while you're here at UTSA. At the end of the semester, you will upload all of these artifacts to TaskStream. Your field supervisors and your faculty will be there in TaskStream, being able to look at what you've done and give you some support with that. They're not going to tell you what to do, but they will do their best to support you to make good use of that stuff. And then ultimately, when you're ready, you'll transfer that information to Pearson, which is the vendor that does the grading. The last important question is one that maybe you wonder about, maybe you don't, but why do I have to do edTPA? The Texas Education Agency has been looking for a replacement for the Pedagogy and Professional Responsibilities test for a few years. The PPR is a multiple choice test, and the smart Alex will say, well, when you're out in the real world and you have a problem in the classroom, the student isn't going to hand you a multiple choice question and ask you which one you're going to choose. So edTPA is a more authentic, if you will, assessment of how your actual teaching performance goes and how well you're doing it. And TEA is experimenting with that as a replacement for the multiple choice test. UTSA is participating in this pilot. The advantage for you is there at the bottom. If you are a bilingual core subject student, this is no extra benefit to you, to be quite blunt. You're going to be hired virtually no matter what as soon as you're qualified. For other core subjects students, people wanting to teach in elementary schools, Texas has lots of folks with your qualifications. edTPA could be a way of helping you stand out, of being able for you to look a principal in the eye and say, I didn't just take the PPR and sit for a multiple choice test one morning. I actually did this portfolio. It took me a long time. It really explains what I did and shows you. And oh, by the way, here are parts of my portfolio if you want to look at them for yourself. And this would be a way for you to set yourself out from the crowd and make yourself perhaps more employable than you might otherwise be. That's the end of our formal presentation, and we have an opportunity now for questions. As Teresa said at the beginning, if you would please type your questions into chat, she will read them to me, and then I will respond the best I can, and we'll take the time that we need to answer your concerns.
Okay, the first question we have is, you mentioned that we must take the exam before August. However, with the situation we are currently facing, this means we all will go through edTPA since everything is pretty much closed. Am I correct?
No, I don't think you're correct. I understand what you're saying, and I'll say it so that we share an understanding. With the coronavirus quarantine that we're under right now, We're unable to do practice testing the way that we customarily would. The testing centers where you would ordinarily take your test are all closed. So your reasonable question is, how am I going to do these things when the normal means for me to do those are not available? In the short term, if you're unable to take the practice test and you want to do that, please reach out to Mrs. Kahutek and tell her what you want to do, and she'll make provisions for you to be able to do that through other means. The review that we ask you to do is still available on Blackboard, and you can do that at home in your pajamas at your convenience. The same is true of the diagnostic test that we ask you to do before we approve you for the test. So the only thing that's really missing is the opportunity to take the real test. Right now the testing centers are closed. The original plan was for them to open sometime in April. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I also don't think they're going to be closed all summer long. So at some point they will open and you will have that opportunity. If that does not happen, then the TEA and a lot of the advocacy organizations, including UTSA, have been asking TEA about an online option, an online way of you to take the real Texas test. We don't have an answer for that one right now, but we are working on it, and that would be the worst case contingency if the testing centers, for whatever reason, are closed indefinitely. Then hopefully TEA will approve and Pearson will be able to implement online testing so that you're not marking time waiting for coronavirus to pass by.
The second question you've kind of answered, but will PPR be available online?
And yes, the real PPR test is not available right now. The diagnostic and review sessions are, and if you contact Mrs. Kahutek, she will provide you with an online practice test that you can do.
Okay, the next question. For those students who are getting a BBL concentration, if the PPR is passed before August 24th, we will not have to go through edTPA.
That's correct. You're certainly welcome to, but you will not be required to.
Are there any more questions?
Well, hearing none, y'all have made this easy on us. If you do have further questions, Mrs. Kahutek and I are both available. Our email addresses are there. You can call my office and I will get your voicemail through my email. And I'll be a little slower to respond to that. Email is probably the best choice right now under the circumstances. We're available to answer those questions if you need to. Otherwise, hearing nothing else, thank you for your attendance, and we'll look forward to your great success in the fall.
There's one more question.
Okay.
So August still stands as the date for the PPR to be done as of right now?
That's correct, August 24th. And the reason is that at the end of August, assuming we're not still under quarantine, maybe even if we still are, we will bring you in and provide you with several days of training, several days of preparation for you to begin your clinical teaching experience. By knowing who has passed the PPR and who has not, we will be able to know specifically who we need to provide with edTPA training. And as I hope I've communicated earlier, we will be purposeful and persistent in providing you with the support and training that you need to be successful with edTPA in the fall. All right, well, thank you all once again, and I look forward again to you being successful in the fall. Good night.
Thank you.